What's the most fricked up dream you've ever had? Quite frequently between the ages of 8 to 12, I would dream that I was a pig running through a jungle being chased by a T-Rex, and I knew it was a dream but I had to find a secret door to escape. I have never found the door. Sounds like a great premise for a children's book. I was ascending into heaven, and whatever supreme being who resides up there greeted me. It wasn't like clouds and pearly gates. It was kind of like standing on the monolith in the middle of space. The being told me I had died in my sleep. I started bawling and he comforted me. I woke up a little after that. What if you actually did die, but God got sick of your crap? I helped a pack of English-speaking lions break into vehicles stuck on the highway during rush hour traffic. I had a nail gun with me that I used to shoot people through the shoulders with, therefore pinning them to their chairs in their vehicles, which helped the lions in their quest for meat. I think I was about 10 or so at the time when I had this dream. I'm 29 now, but it always stuck with me for some reason. Please note I do not own a nail gun and I have never spoken to a lion. Thank goodness you put that note in there, or otherwise we'd have no idea. Woke up on a spaceship going to Mars. Everything was white. White walls, white doors, white hallways, white clothes. I was wearing a white wig and white gloves. You get the gist. Anyhow, as I explore the ship, I notice I am alone. Minutes becomes hours. Hours become days. I am never hungry, never tired, just alone. I explore and search and yell and panic and deny and exasperate, but I am alone. And then, I find a huge pillow-sized strawberry. The dream then ends with me hugging the strawberry for eternity. The enrichment center reminds you that a weighted companion strawberry will never threaten to stab you and, in fact, cannot speak. I had a repeating dream in my mid-20s that I was in a lifeguard tower, think Baywatch, with a sniper rifle taking out kids on the beach and in the water. It was so realistic it fricked with my head for a while. When I was 12 I had a wet dream about Whoopi Goldberg. This is the only truly hellish dream I've seen here so far. I had a dream when I was a kid where I went to a physical therapy session in this dimly lit place that looked like an operating room. Once I got in, this creepy guy laid me back on the table, cut open the top of my head, and proceeded to dip chunks of my brain in ranch dressing and eat them, all while I was awake and screaming. Similar, when I was about 5 I dreamt that I was kidnapped. I was scared at first but grew to love my kidnapper because he taught me how to vomit my organs and eat them with a fork and knife so they would fall back into place within my body. I could be completely self-sustaining for the rest of my life. One time I had a horribly graphic wet dream about Freddy Krueger. I was minding my own business in my room when in walks some buff version of Mr. Krueger and he says Rex time. I said fine, but only if he took off his knife hands, and the next thing I know we were making love in my sister's bed. It made me think differently of myself for a while. I'm Scary Terry. Welcome to your nightmare bee. I had a wet dream where I fricked a crocodile. Keep in mind that consciously I am not the least bit attracted to crocodiles. When I was around 11 or 12 I had a dream that my grandpa was a Terminator and was trying to kill me. I don't remember much of the dream except for when my bike got a flat tire so I threw it off a bridge and it exploded for some reason. I know a guy who had a dream where he was escorting a drunk Superman and a one-legged kid and they were being chased by 4 Terminators. Before I was prescribed Prazosin my nightmares were awful, like crawling through a dark grocery store with a serial killer in the next aisle while it rains blood level awful. The worst one I remember, though, was where I couldn't prevent a little girl from being violated. I hid in a closet terrified. I knew if I made a noise that the monster sniffing around would find me and the little girl hiding on my shoulders. I said frick it and I ran. In another part of the dream I remember the little girl being chained to a bed or taken to a movie theater. PTSD ain't nothing to frick with. I am a straight male. Had a dream a good buddy of mine violated me in the butt. Now, it's never the same when I look at him. Robin Williams was a gay hairdresser and Owen Wilson was his lover. It was all great until Wilson broke up with Robin by saying I don't need my hair done anymore. I can just visualize this so well. It was meant to be. I had a candidate for the most fricked up title last night. In fact, I dreamed that there was an artist who sculpted cumulus clouds into gigantic human figures, except they weren't celebrities or historical figures or anything, just expressionless, generic people with their lips slightly parted. I was hired as the security detail for one of the artist's works, which meant that I had to sit on a small platform 20,000 feet in the air next to this insipid, ominous cloud statue. The only thing securing me to the platform was a safety harness that looked like it was purchased at Kmart, and the platform was constantly swaying in the wind. I could see nothing around me but the relentless blue of the sky and the statue's massive indifferent face being altered slightly by the currents of air. It was horrifying. When I woke up, I fully understood what George R.R. Martin was getting at when he wrote about the sky cells of the Arry in a Game of Thrones. As someone who has no problem with heights, this sounds like it could be captured in a beautiful piece of art. I love it. Dream 1. A friend of mine had died in a car wreck in real life earlier that year. I had a dream where he came and sat next to me at church. I say, "What have you been up to, man?" His voice goes scary satanic deep and says, "You know." Then the dream turns to just black and white static, then to black silence. Dream 2. When I was about 10, I had a dream that Michael Jordan shot and killed my brother. Then MJ turned into a black widow spider. In real life, my brother sees MJ at work sometimes now, so I worry for his safety. Dream 3. 2 nights ago I had a dream that there were some crazy gunmen with creepy Mike Myers type masks shooting up the neighborhood. I hide out in a stranger's house. Then they all start banging on the windows with their guns and machetes trying to attack us. That first one, bro, dang. Mine isn't scary, it was actually kind of nice. It was a recurring dream. When I was young I had a golden retriever. She was the sweetest, nicest dog in the world. When we put her down I was devastated. I ran upstairs, hid under some blankets and bawled. Soon after I started having a dream that involved me laying in my bed and I would hear the door open up and she would walk in. She would come to my bedside and start tickling me and I would laugh hysterically and pet her. Every time I would laugh a little bit less until I didn't laugh at all. That was the last time I ever had that dream. When my cat was diagnosed with cancer, I started having dreams about losing her. Not her dying, but me literally losing her. And then when she died I started having dreams where she'd be with another family. But it was okay because she was still alive and that was all that mattered. And that I'd gotten to see her one last time. Stupid fur faces wriggling themselves into our hearts. Sniff. For years I've had a recurring nightmare so frequently that I know it's a dream every time it's happening, but I can't do anything about the storyline or the fear or the realness of it. From a hallway which stretches into the distance as far as the eye can see, kind of like the hallway in The Matrix, I enter a room in which everything, the furniture, the walls, floor, ceiling, everything is covered in a crazy variety of patterns in black and white. Stripes and houndstooth and plaid and checkers and fractals and polka dots. Confused as to why I am there and why it looks like it does, I sit down on a couch. Eventually I notice some of the patterns on the couch are moving. Slowly, and then it hits me. I realize that the couch isn't moving. It's a freaking person on the couch, with paper white skin and clothes in crazy black and white patterns, starting to stand up, looking straight at me. He's been there the whole time but was camouflaged. I flip out and try to find the door, but I can't find it because it too is camouflaged with the wall. The man has stood up fully by now. He is facing me. He towers over me. His skin is white as snow with blue veins showing through. His eyes look straight into mine. I freaking hate this dream. You need to get someone to make a short film about this dream. That's some freaky crap. I'm standing in front of my mom's grave crying. Then I look up and every grave is someone I know. I'm surrounded by the graves of everyone I've ever met and I'm alone. That's really goddamn creepy. I slept on a friend's sofa last week and in the same night dreamt that his cat bit my nose off. He had a dog that bit my balls off, and I got attacked by thousands of tiny frogs on the beach. Stressful night. I was having a picnic with my family in the park and we were eating KFC. Then everything got all dark and my family disappeared. After that a giant chicken started walking towards me and ate me, probably because I was eating KFC. I went through his digestive system and it was all Alice in Wonderland style, with weird walls changing every second and lots of mirrors. Also lots of things were spinning and crap. Then I finally realized it was a dream, so I ordered the chicken to poop me out and the dream ended there. I have never had midnight cheesecake again. I died one time in my dream and it was just pure darkness. Pretty scary. One time my cup or orange juice, in my dream, started talking to me. Things got even more strange after that. When I was 8 or 9 I turned to one side of my bed, opened my eyes and I saw the devil laying down right next to me. He said my name and I woke up immediately. I once had a very vivid dream when I was in grad school in which I was working late on campus and accidentally set the building on fire. I had 24 access to the building, but I wasn't supposed to be in that particular part of the building after midnight, and in the dream, I trucked it the heck out of there. As I was driving home, I realized I had not pulled the fire alarm, and thus the fire was likely even further out of control. I even dreamed that I came home, sat on the computer for a while, checked the news, and climbed in bed. The dream was so vivid that when I woke up, I actually got into my car and drove to campus to verify that it was, in fact, a dream. One time I had a dream where Emmy and this guy I met at the laundromat had to chase Jimi Hendrix through time. We had to stop him from giving acid to a caveman and playing Purple Rain in Victorian England. It was all because of a magic tie-dye t-shirt we found at the laundromat. Get on it, Hollywood. I once dreamt I was trapped in my own personal heck. Basically I was stuck in my basement of my parents' old house, strapped to a chair and forced to watch my old cat repeatedly run down the steps full force directly into the wall, breaking his neck. It was like a scene from American Horror Story, Covenant, and I miss that cat. Used to have a recurring dream from about age 10 to 13 where I would go back to visit my old neighbors and was shown this pretty pink room I was to spend the night in. When it was time to go to bed, I went upstairs but everything was different and I tried but couldn't find the pretty room. I turned to go downstairs but everything went dark and this vignette is suddenly lit up in the corner. There are mannequins sitting there sitting in antique furniture. One of them starts to animate. He looked like Abe Lincoln at Disneyland, and slowly start to crank up and move, then tell me that the answer you are seeking. But then I suddenly would wake up. I dreamed this same dream over and over and each time I would get a little bit more of clue sentence from the robot animatron mannequin guy. The answer you are seeking is, then the next night, the answer you are seeking is to find, then another night, the answer you are seeking is to find how to. It drove me freaking nuts, and I never found the answer, at least not in the dream. Drink your Ovaltine. I once dreamt I gave birth to a T-Rex. Ouch, if you're a guy, that's even worse. I had a dream where I woke up in my bedroom and heard something tapping on the closed door of my closet. I opened the closet door to investigate and got pulled into the closet by a small goblin-like creature. Then it ran out of the closet and shut the door. I couldn't get out. Everything was completely black and I couldn't see anything. I tried finding the walls of my closet, but there was nothing. Even the doors were gone. I was just in big, empty darkness. Then there was this weird clicking and laughing. I turned around and looked around, trying to find the source. Eventually I saw it, a floating white blob in the distance. I ran to it, and as I got closer I saw it was a floating skull. It turned towards me and started laughing harder. The clicking was its teeth clacking together as it laughed. Then it talked to me. This dream was a few years ago, so I don't remember exactly what it said, but it was something along the lines of, "You've been a pain in my butt for too long, now it's time for you to suffer." Then two of my friends appeared in front of me, but they were tied to posts. Before I could ask what was going on, they started spinning, and the skull resumed laughing, and they spun faster and faster, and the laughing got louder and louder. They went faster and faster and their clothes flew off, and then their skin. Then strips of flesh flew off, blood and muscle and fat and just, bits of them flew everywhere, until all that was left were two skeletons. Then they stopped spinning, and crumbled to dust. The skull flew down in front of my face, laughing, and its eye sockets were filled with flames. And the last thing I heard before waking up was, "This was all your fault, and it will happen again." Interestingly enough, this dream did have a sequel a week or two later. Mr. Skeletal has no mercy. I was an officer in this future war in the Middle East. As soon as I landed, Bullets started flying all around. I had to regroup my men, but when I looked around me, there was only cats dressed in combat fatigues. That's when things started to get hairy. Don't you mean furry? I had a dream someone cut off my balls. I found solace in the idea that they would grow back. IDK made sense at the time. Boy, did I have a crazy one in high school. It all started when I went to my friend's house for a sleepover. His mom came into the room and exclaimed that it was bedtime. But being little rebels, we wanted to stay out late. We hatched a plan that if she thought we were scared, she would let us stay out late. In order to prove this, we built a little fort to keep the boogeyman out. Somehow this worked and we stayed up all night. Years later we went back to that long abandoned house, and to our surprise the fort had somehow turned itself into a sailboat. We pushed the boat out into the lake nearby when it spoke to me, "Kill all your friends." Scared to death, I tell my friend to run when a shockwave shoots out and impales him on a nearby tree. The rest of my friends make it inside as we hide while this psychopathic sailboat flies around trying to kill us. We tried everything to escape, including calling buses to pick us up, but they were all full. Why we didn't call the police, it beyond me. Soon enough the sailboat turns into a giant black dragon and burns the house down along with all my friends except for myself. Terrified, I ask the dragon what he wants from me, and he informs me that his name is Death and I am needed to comfort his wife. Pretty bizarre request, but who am I to argue with a giant fire-breathing lizard? Anyways, we fly across the countryside for hours, seeing various sights along the way, including a forest full of seductive trees. When we finally arrive, I see a faint outline of another dragon when Death pulls out one of his ribs and places it in the ethereal dragon. The dragon then comes life when my mom wakes for work. Why did Death need me? Was I going to become some kind of dragon drab? I will never know. TLDR. A fort turns into a murderous sailboat that turns into a dragon that uses me to comfort his scaly wife. I had a dream that I carved my left hand like a pumpkin and could slide all of the pieces in and out. This is a stress dream I get every so often. I open my eyes and I'm standing in this long corridor. I look down at my hand and I have a gun. As someone who, in real life, has next to no experience with guns, I sort of start to freak out. I then look down the hallway and a shadowy figure is holding a gun to the head of a random friend. Not being a terrific shot, I run down the hallway to get closer. Then, as I get closer, he and my friend duck behind a corner. As I turn the corner, the hallway turns into the edge of a cliff and at the bottom of it is a river of lava. My friend is holding onto the ledge and about to fall off. So I try to help them up. While I do this, the shadowy figure comes up behind me and shoots me in the head. Sometimes, he pushes me off the ledge into the lava. When I open my eyes, I'm at the end of the hallway again, and the shadowy figure is at the other end, just like at the beginning of the dream. This time, however, it's a different friend that he is holding captive. Again, I run down to try to help. I wait a second or for the shadowy figure to come from behind before helping my friend. I decide he isn't coming. Turn to help my friend, and the man comes up behind me and kills me. This will repeat roughly 10 times before I wake up. I try to wait for him every time, and every time he finds a way to kill me when my back is turned. Sometimes, my friend's grip slips and they fall. As I turn to look, the man comes up and kills me. I've never beaten him. The meaning of the dream or why it's even happening never really concerns me. I pretty much just know that if I'm ever stressed out, there's a good chance I will have this dream. During my GoldenEye years, I had a dream that I was getting physically intimate with my N64. Dong thrusting in and out of controller port 1. Dreamt I was violently ravished by my mom. Wonder what Freud would say. Guys, this is not made up bulls to gain karma. This is actually what happened. I was dreaming that I was getting a BJ by this woman. I don't know who the woman is. I just remember her looking like she was worked on. Anyways, I was viewing the dream from a different angle, like looking towards her from my right hip. And I was watching, when all of a sudden, she grabs my balls and dong, and pulls it. Not enough to pull it out of my body, but enough to get it away from my hips. She then started sucking my balls, but once she got them in her mouth, she tucked them in her bottom lip, then freaking tore her face off with my balls. It was so surreal, like the entire face was being pulled. There was immediate blood, It was so bad, it has actually scarred me. This is what prompted me to ask you guys what you have dreamed about, to see if there has to be something worse than this dream. I'm having a hard time visualizing this. My senior year in high school, I had a dream where my parents tried murdering me. Needless to say, I was pretty paranoid the day after waking up. You have been visited by the Nemord koalas. Comment slow and happy to get relationship as good as that of the koalas. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.